Hi, this is Shu with a review of a shoe from China. Anta has been making quite a big splash. It's, of course, the official sponsor of Klay Thompson's lineup, the KT4 you can see at the back. I didn't buy the KT5 because they have basically the exact same traction pattern, and I don't know how much of a significant upgrade they made on the cushioning, but KT4 cushioning, the A flash cushioning, I was not thoroughly impressed. I mean, it had a good heel shock absorption, but on the forefoot it felt a little so-so. In contrast, this one, it's called the Crazy Tide out of the Shock the Game 4.0 lineup. Yes, this is not Shock the Game. That's the name of the lineup of the shoe. The name of the shoe itself, it's Crazy Tide, like that detergent name that we remember from back in the days. It's got a nice little splashy pattern here, and this is actually quite interesting because this serves not just for form but for function. The outrigger function this one has, it's not just this little itty bitty part. This whole chunk, this TPU plastic, it's all covering the lateral area all the way down here. So it's a huge outrigger, if you might call it, an oversized outrigger that ensures anti-inversion support. So this is pretty incredible. Even though if it's rounded, it still provides that resistance to injury that you could sustain on your ankle while you're moving those crazy lateral movements, which I don't do. I only admire and envy. The shoe itself, it's quite heavy. It weighs around 530 grams for a size 9.5. That's almost as heavy, if not heavier, than the Crazy Explosives or a lot of those old Boost models like the hardened 1s or 2s. But it feels a lot lighter than them. So what's important is not what the digits show, but rather what you feel on your feet as you wear them and pound them around and play games in them. So this one feels a lot lighter than those models. I guess a lot of the weight has been distributed evenly throughout the shoe, not just on the forefoot or the heel or specific parts. For hardened 2s, they had all the weight on the back for some reason. The fit is a little it's a little tedious. If the Kyrie series, let's say the Kyrie 4s, 3s, or 2s or 1s, if they fit you true to size, then you might want to go down half a size. If you're like me, you go up half a size or a full size for shoes like the Kyries or the Kobe's that come a little bit narrow, you might want to go up half a size. But the thing is, it's got a bit of a space on the toe box area. That's something you might want to consider. I personally feel the need to add some extra shoelace loops, holes here to provide an extra lockdown. And also, if this pinky area could be pinching a little bit like the Kyries or the Kobe's, if you go true to size, it might be a little bit tight. So if the Kobe's and Kyries fit you great and you feel roomy, go down half a size or go down half a size, definitely, than your Kobe or Kyrie sizes. That's what I would recommend. The lace loop, it's pretty good. I like the way they use this little strap to ensure there's an additional lockdown, but I wish they would have used this for to connect the heel area all the way up here as well, because they do have a great Achilles pillar, a lot of thick foam here, but the heel cup itself, it feels a little bit wide. So for me, I wish they would have done something to pull this thing up a little bit, but still no complaints. It's not as bad as the Lillard ones. If you remember those, your feet will be like all over the place and jumping out of the shoe. So it's definitely better than that, but it could be a little bit better. The upper material is there's leather and there's sort of like a scratchy, rough, a little bit more layered, engineered mesh type of material. It's not crazy breathable. It's not crazy stuffy. They're gonna feel a little bit hot if you play too long outdoors in the summer. They're gonna feel a little bit too cold if you play too long outdoors in the winter. That's the kind of ventilation it has. And what else am I missing here? The design, I think it's a beautiful design. It's not a ripoff of any specific model. It's not an homage to any specific model. The cushioning, the A-Shock 3.0 is actually better than the A-Flash foam they use in the Klay Thompson lineup. It's really soft. It feels like a little bit firmer and stable cloud foam. If you've worn the Adidas shoe before, it feels like a little bit firmer version of Boost or Cloud Foam. It feels like a softer version of Bounce. So if you like that cushioning in between those setups, this is the perfect shoe for you. It's very low to the ground. It's not super thick. It does not keep you high off the ground like the Boost shoes do. And you don't immediately feel your feet suddenly sinking, or the cushioning, the midsole compressing all of a sudden to be flat before you actually have the need to move and land and have some impact and weight distribution around there. So the cushioning is awesome for those who like the kind of soft all-around cushioning like the Zoom Flight 5s of the old days, or they call it Zoom Up Tempo and released it with a different name. So it's that kind of a foam. The Crazy Explosive, the Boost shoes, the problem I had with those was the heel would just sink off, just like that. So it'll be really bottomed out immediately when your weight is distributed, even before you're applying shock or applying your weight or need some shock absorption. So the Boost always had the problem of the forefoot. They did not have enough of a feeling of cradling your foot or providing that soft, mushy comfort on your forefoot. It feels hard on the forefoot. It feels a little bit too mush on the heel. That was a problem with Boost, and they weight a lot more. For this A-Shock foam, they tinker a little bit with the density on the heel and the forefoot, or they've come up with a way to formulate the thickness a little bit. There's a clear heel to toe drop, and both sides it's pretty low profile, and at the same time the heel is a little bit more firmer, and it provides that cool comfort ride at the same time, good shock absorption. And the forefoot is very low to the ground, and yet it feels like a very airy, thick Boost foam. So best of both worlds in some sense. But if you're the type of player that feels like if you wear something really soft, like a full-length Zoom shoe with Lunarlon or Cushlon midsole that really just gets all mushy, if you feel, I guess, fatigued if you run around in those for too long. Personally, I've had my Achilles tendon ruptured. I've had plantar fasciitis. So if you have those kind of symptoms, do not go with these super soft shoes because they could worsen your condition. But if you have knee problems, this is the type of cushioning you might want to go with. So it's a compromise between the two. Either really soft for your knees, but too soft for your foot and your tendons. So if you like something that's firmer, this is not the shoe for you. If you want something that's bouncier or springier and you need to be higher off the ground for some reason, this is not the shoe for you. But otherwise, low profile, soft, cradle cushioning all the way, and a good heel to toe drop. I can't really complain about this shoe, but it does feel like there's that fatigue factor comes into play if you run around in them for a prolonged period of time. I guess this is for quick, sharp, fast games, maybe. Depending on your preference, once again, think about the shoes that fit you well and did not give you any problems, and this is something you might want to think about, like Zoom Flight 5, the full-length, the traditional 90s full-length Zoom Air, which is super soft and mushy. That's the kind of cushioning it has. The outsole is awesome. It's reminiscent of the Kobe 11 outsole traction pattern, but they're thicker and deeper. So the Kobe 11s, if you try them, they feel great at first when you're wearing them on a very clean cord, and then when they get dusty, they're just slipping all over the place. They're super sensitive to dust, and they're very easily worn out. Most Kobe 11s, if you wear them for a few months intensively, then you're just gonna rub them all out. They're gonna be erased completely. But this one, it's super deep, and there's a lot of crisscrossing patterns, so the traction is awesome. Even if you wear this outdoors, it's going to be quite durable compared to most other models out there. But of course, for this great traction, I would advise you to save them for indoor courts, especially dusty indoor courts. You'll be beating the competition and breaking ankles more easily. The price point is another fascinating factor. It costs less than $100. I don't know how they would be if you ship them from China to the States or wherever you're staying, but for me, getting them from China to Korea, it was really quite cheap.